We are just before the Valentine's Day weekend with another Off the Record on the Rocks. My good friend, Mr. Ankarino, Laura. There's a big meeting here in Washington, D.C. today. This is the second meeting in as many days in the new year of the American Banking Association members and the White House administration discussing the definition of stablecoin yields and whether or not this has any bearing on the local, regional, and community banks' ability to lend to their final consumers. Will this be the breaking point for the Clarity Bill? You've seen Scott Bessent out there on the headlines. We've got new SEC chair talking about the need for tokenization of assets. Meanwhile, while gold reaches its all-time high, Bitcoin tanks in the trash can. At the same time, China bans crypto, maybe buys gold, creates tokenized digital economy in China. And I know I'm throwing a lot out there, but China taking swipes at the U.S. via Elon with banning of Teslas and the door handles. Look, I'll start with the banking meeting. What's your take from the left coast on, the thawing out here in Washington? Today, we might get some clarity.
Well, you open with it, and I'm going to run with it. What we have had is no clarity. In fact, everything has been obfuscated. The meeting is supposed to be happening right now. Is that accurate? Or
Currently,
is it
I think
it's currently happening. So
I'll check the Twitter feed.
We got to keep the feeds hot then, because we're hoping to schedule this recording during this exact time for the purpose of analyzing this in as real time as possible. The Banking Clarity Act, or rather just the Clarity Act, it really, when we boil it down, let's just talk about what it is that we're trying to parse, right? Part of the Clarity Act is that there needs to be very specific roles and duties assigned to both the SEC and the CFTC, right? That's if you had to kind of take it down to a few key bullet points, I would say that one is kind of one of the big ones that's on my radar. So when you think about that, we have a new figurehead coming into play, right? The name of this dude is I always forget, Paul Atkins. And he was hot in the news this morning.
Big time.
Talking about just kind of teasing it, right? So it seems like if he's out there already kind of leaning and teasing, is really just this meeting more procedural, or are they really finishing negotiations? So what I don't know on the left coast is I can't really ever tell, and your ears more to the ground on this, when the tweets hit, when the X posts hit, is that signaling of the direction as a fait accompli, or more like, hey, this is my position, what we're going to do? I'm starting to feel like these guys are kind of tail wagging the dog again by putting out information and then seeing reactions. Polymarkets are popping because of tweets like this.
Yeah, I feel like we're closer than we've ever been. I think if Paul Atkins is hitting the Fox Business airwaves at 6 a.m. on the Tuesday after the Super Bowl in the midst of giant Epstein drops, giant acquisitions in the marketplace, lots of other issues on lots of other fronts, wars. We haven't talked about the Venezuela Maduro in a while. That's still on the back burner. But Paul Atkins and the SEC are out there talking about tokenization of digital assets while the banks are going into this meeting. I think it's the strong arm leverage that then the administration can take back to the ABA to say, look, we're going to issue stable coins, these crypto companies, the tokenization of these assets, the make IPOs great again. I mean, that was my other favorite tagline from this morning's PR roundup. But we've been calling it here, which is this flurry of market activity that then spurs economic development. And if you can have a bunch of small AI-based GPT wrappers who want to build a new software product on artificial intelligence and tokenize the equity and go sell it on a poly market where you can bet on it as a future, we're going to let that innovation happen here in America. You damn well right we are. I think the only thing I can say is if there isn't clarity today, and maybe feels like some, I hate to say, black swan event just ready in February, because February is pretty short. It's real compact. You could
Yep.
squeeze a lot into it. And if you got one more black swan event, if everything tanked, if they bought up all the rest of the Bitcoin, stuffed it into your 401k before you even woke up March 1st, passed the Clarity Act, and boom, IPOs are great again. That feels like a real nice 1-2 setup into where it seems like the administration wants to take all of this. They're hinting at the Bitcoin strategic reserve. That was the other thing buzzing in the airwaves today. Loomis, who's been kind of quiet so far in 2026, she popped up talking about how Trump supports her objective and her legislation to establish the Bitcoin strategic reserve and buy 1 million Bitcoin. Do you think Michael Saylor's at the table? Do you think they're just negotiating the price? Is he going to buy it at 50K? Okay. What's the average rate that the U.S. federal government has to buy the BTC at for Michael Saylor to be made whole and for this to get stuffed into every ETF and every 401k of every American by March?
It almost sounds like you would be motivated to manipulate the price so that it would be at the right level if you were in the business of acquiring 1 million Bitcoins. Because let's not forget, too, that you got to get in line. The entire country of France has already earmarked, what was it, 4 to 4.5 million Bitcoin? They said they're going to go get that. And Loomis says she wants to go get 1 million. And Saylor says he wants another 2. So right there, we're already almost 8 or 9. We're already at
it's only
more
21 million.
More than half of the supposed known existing Bitcoin that will be finally discovered 100 years and change from now. So part of coming out and saying things like, I am going to get 1 million Bitcoin I feel like is deliberately disingenuous because it confuses and convolutes what the message is. It'd be like China coming out, to bring it back to one of the things you said at the top of the show, saying, well, we have a new digital currency. However, it's backed by gold, and we China are going to go and get 25% of the gold that exists on the planet Earth. It would be a similar statement like that, which in the case of gold, you'd say, well, that's crazy because we don't even know how much there is. So how can you go get 25%? But in the case of Bitcoin, we absolutely know how much there is. So to just say things like, by the way, guys, I know you guys have been deciding who's going to be buying Bitcoin again soon, but I just want to let you know I'm going to go get 1 million of them. And I need to do it right now. And it's like, oh, yeah, go ahead. You come in. Just get in front of the line here. She wants the whole million. We're going to take her order first. Like what exactly does it mean? It just feels like that confusion, that delay, that fear, that FUD of make this thing seem like it's controllable and calm down markets, right? There are these efforts, I think, of humans grasping at headlines, just trying to get a handle on what's really going on. When you talk about volatility, this is nothing new. We've been buying bags on the way down. You and I've been texting for the last week of just like, I got another bag. And then
how low can it go?
How low can you go? It's the Bitcoin limbo. And we're all out here seeing if we can just brush our ear against the floor and grab another bag. But it's completely fabricated hysteria. And it's just financial products moving money left and right and center. But coming out and saying insane things across the boards from Saylor to Loomis to the country of France doesn't actually help the conversation or narrative. But what it does fuel is some very serious xenophobia, I think, in the eyes of the Americans who want to build a digital Bitcoin reserve and then prevent countries like China and others from claiming any kind of ownership of that. It's important that we own that narrative, even if we can't own the Bitcoin.
I mean, we talked about this on the show of when you're in the business of controlling markets and controlling narratives, and something that there is no CEO, there is no single person to go to, finding other ways to control the narrative. And you start to see, even here in the past week, the fear and greed index and the old adage, the newly retired Warren Buffett adage of when everyone is fearful is the time to be greedy. And when everybody's being greedy, that's when you should be fearful. And I feel like right now there's just nothing but fear in the market. The fear on all of the geopolitical fronts, the fear of artificial intelligence, the fear of these poly markets. And, I feel like even that is driving a lot of anxiety. None maybe more so than the Super Bowl, right? There were more Polymarket and Kalshi bets, more money changed hands in a single weekend than maybe has ever before in the history of mankind. Right? Like, that's a true statement.
Think about that for a second. That's a true statement. What was the messaging of the ads? And I challenge anyone I talk to, can you remember any visual details of any of the AI funded ads? Everyone kind of remembers that there wasn't
Steve
really
Urkel and Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah, but I mean more like AI ads that are promoting AI services, not ads generated by AI,
Right.
where just the images and the messaging, these aren't products that are being discussed. Like if you press someone and said, hey, tell me what the latest is for Claude.ai or Cursor or Coinbase, and just start rattling. And people will say, I don't know. But what did you get the feeling? Well, I got the feeling that while more money than in the entire history of mankind was wagered and exchanged in one weekend, and what I'm being fed is this kind of synthetic emotional miasma that is in the air and washing over me from the screen, which is, you're watching something in real life. It's called the American game of football, and you love it. And there's a stuff called AI, and it's going to be nice. And it's going to make you feel good. It's a digital Xanax that's going to make your mood just smooth. It's going to make your bank accounts even smoother. And there's nothing dangerous about this. There's nothing sinister. There's only benevolence behind this. And don't worry about the resources that are being used, and just move forward. And by the way, didn't all your bets just hit? Didn't you just help predict the future? Well, AI just assisted with that, and you're welcome. Like, that was how I felt. I was just like sitting there being hypnotized.
Myasia. Ask your doctor. Just the word you use. Ask your doctor about myasia. How to use AI to feel happy. No, you're right. I mean, that's so well said. Even the Kalshi markets of, didn't your bets just hit? Didn't you just make a lot of money? Like, with more bets, isn't there more money to be made? I think so. And if they can be smaller and easier to predict, like almost obvious, then can't you make just a fraction of a yield? Isn't that what the ABA is in the White House right now arguing that we don't want to allow? What?
The ABA's there saying, I made $4.80 because I had to bet, or I had to predict. I had to invest in a prediction. Do not use the word bet. I had to invest in a prediction for $5.50 to make $4.80 if Punxsutawney Phil saw his shadow. Well, this won't stand. You can see these guys pounding the table the same way they pounded the table at the SEC hearings over Pokemon cards being stores of wealth. I mean, we're now at a point where investment in future predictions is the tokenized proxy for truth in real life. And tokenization, people start talking about, well, who is he supposed to be? Is he the token government guy in the room? Who's he supposed to be? Is he the token tech guy at the table here with the gov people? Suddenly the term, the token blank, just means, yeah, it's the one thing in the room that isn't like the other things in the room, but you can invest in it. The token. And the tokenized version of the future, well, yeah, I mean, it's based on what I think, and this guy on the other side of my investment of prediction. I can't use the word bet. I got to stop saying bet. That's the truth. If the two sides of the wager match and then one side wins and the other doesn't, well, then the truth was established, a tokenized version of it. So I'm just starting to think this word tokenization, we talked about this when it goes way back. We were working together 10 years ago. All that IBM, all that Microsoft was talking about was tokenization, but it never stuck. No one could really get their head around what it is. And of course, like we always say, it takes one of three industries to popularize something and make everyone understand. The first, video games. The second, pornography. The third, gambling. And you just pick one of those three. And they tried it with games and tried to make, in-game weird wagering stuff for kids. Kind of sort of worked. They haven't really tried it with pornography. I'm not sure how that would work yet. But then gambling, wow, it's really easy to communicate. Did you just think something might happen? I did. Did it happen? I think it did. Did you just get paid money? I did. I love tokenization.
Did you think something was going to happen? I did. Did you bet on it? I did. Yes. I mean, and the ease of that is real. I think I love the part you were talking about with the commercials and the AIs, and these are not real products, and the way they get shown to us. I mean, of like, it kind of feels like one of these medical commercials where there's no substance to it. Like, what is this even for? What am I supposed to do with it? It's going to be the next Jardian's jingle, just in terms of all of the things at OpenAI. I did appreciate Anthropic taking the swipe at ChatGPT, like this preemptive strike, it almost feels like, about the advertisements showing up in the AI, which is interesting because like the average consumer hasn't been sitting back being like, I'm going to be really disappointed when ads start showing up in my AI. They're not saying that, but the advertiser felt the need, in this case, the competitor, to say, hey guys, these guys over here, they're about to put ads in your AI. You definitely don't want that, do you? Because it changes the business model. It changes the ability to tokenize the inputs and who gets charged on the output when you can now pay to play, just like the old Google days with search engine optimization. And so we'll see where that lands.
Well, preemptive strike, the way you say that, I think that's interesting. The militaristic kind of bent.
Well, and I got one more for you. When you said like all these commercials, like what are they selling? What are they selling? It kind of felt like blah, except for one. The other one that broke through for me that I think had the opposite effect, maybe the only Super Bowl commercial in the history of Super Bowl commercials that had the opposite effect of selling its product, was Ring Doorbell and its new smart finder to find your lost dog. What? I don't think so.
I mean, that one was on the nose for me. I was joking with people before the party about tail wagging the dog, and like how dissimilarly that there are these things that you don't know that you need to know. The great, you don't know. I don't know what I don't know. Okay, well, we're seeing it across now all these stories we just mentioned. Well, I didn't know that I wasn't going to like ads in my AI. Do I not like ads in my AI? Well, let me go check my Polymarket bet. Did I actually bet? Let me ask my AI if I like ads or not. I don't know if you know, but these handles that are kind of flush with the door on Teslas, these are really dangerous. And so we're going to go ahead as a state-funded move in China to say that if the door handles are flush, well, they're so dangerous to our consumers that we will never allow them. Because you don't know this yet, consumers, but this is going to kill you. And so we're not going to let it. Thank you. What does that mean? Well, it means we can't have Teslas in China. Like there are these causality flows that make zero sense. And part of that 0 cents comes from the core of what I was saying with the AI ads, is that they're almost, I hate to say it this way, but they're trying to sell hope. Not to go back to an Obama era message of just hope. Like, I hope that electing this person, the idea of this person, will make the world better. Hope. What is a hope? Well, a hope is a optimistic prediction of the future, right? I am optimistic about the future, so I have hope. And when I have hope, it leads me to behave in certain ways, and I might invest in predicting how hopeful my future will be. I kind of felt those undertones of like, hey, you got to kind of just hold hands with me, and we're taking a jump together. We're doing it together. And AI felt like it was trying to cozy up and, dare I say, act a little human and try to be give me a little fuzzy of, God, these guys really are looking out for the future for me and for my family. And maybe if I predict that they're hopeful for it and I'm hopeful for it, then I should swing over here to Kalshi and just drop some money on that shit. And
if everybody is feeling so hopeful, then none other than Coinbase had everybody singing together. I mean, literally that
the kumbaya moment.
The kumbaya moment of this is what we're doing, guys. This is what we're doing. Get on Coinbase. Check out your AI. Go drop your tokens in the new AI machine. Check out this one over here. This one over here's got ads in it. You probably don't like that one. I think the analogy you made of the sort of downstream impacts of like this, I'm going to go buy $1 billion in Bitcoin. They're going to put ads in your AI. Door handles are bad for you. You didn't know it, consumer. I'm looking out for you. Like all of those downstream impacts. I mean, I went looking today for the China Bitcoin news, and to see the headlines, just left punch, right punch, left punch of China. It seems like maybe distancing itself from the US. Maybe here's where we go, right? We covered this last time about all the UAE and the Saudi investments and where that is leading in terms of the AI chips and all the money that's flowing there with Jared Kushner. But who was our other big trading partner and competitive economy in that way? China. And here they are just creating and widening this gap. If they create a digital currency backed by gold in China, isn't that a CBDC? Now, all of a sudden, if we don't want any AIs that are not ours or not on our silicon, then we better not have a bunch of robotic Teslas with cameras driving around our country, scanning and facial recognizing like a doorbell, like a Ring doorbell, which, oh, by the way, not only can it find your lost dog, but it can be tracking your every move around everything you do in the physical world. That surveillance state that we I think have seen play out in the People's Republic of China, now distancing itself in other ways that says, oh, Tesla, oh, those door handles, they're dangerous. You can't be in our country, is kind of a big FU, not just to Elon and Tesla, but in some ways to American innovation. If Tesla is an American company and Elon is standing shoulder to shoulder with the Trump administration, then I could see why China needs to distance itself. And Scott Besson said he wouldn't be surprised if they're doing this right now. They're buying the Bitcoin right now, and they're buying the gold right now.
Yeah, like they're planning to buy it in a week, or are they buying it right now, or did they buy it last week? But there's just that kind of paradox of what you just described too, and how we say, you don't know what you don't know, change the narrative, make something that is not the thing that matters, the most important thing, so you can go over here and do what you want to do. The surveillance state is synonymous with China and the way that they like to run the country. The United States, we're not part of a surveillance state. That's because those people over here in Asia and people in England and in other countries, they love, multiple CCTV cameras at every angle, everywhere. This is not how Americans live. We are free and free from the gaze of the authoritarian governments or their agencies.
Right.
Privacy is a right, and it's a privilege. But we're going to get every citizen to buy a car that has a flush handle, which has 20 cameras pointing all around it. We're going to get every citizen to buy multiple Ring doorbell cameras that are effectively going to surveil them and their neighbors at all times, and in a sort of mesh web technology way. But there's no way I would ever promote or vote for any kind of surveillance technology at the government level. We'll just let it be privatized. I mean, this other article just I was sending it. It's unrelated but very related. Is that just these guys from Waymo, these guys from Alphabet, are up there being like, they're being brought to task, taken to task because, gosh, everyone said it might happen sooner or later. A Waymo went ahead and just ran some kid over in front of a school in Santa Monica. A Waymo just went and, killed a beloved cat, a neighborhood cat in San Francisco, but just ran it right over. And then the argument being made by Waymo is, well, these cars which have all these cameras and detections and LiDAR, whatever they have, well, there's actually a team of humans, and the team of humans is in the Philippines, and they're looking through the cameras. And it's just, pause. How many people are looking through the cameras? Are they driving the car? Are they turning on the windshield wipers? Are they turning on the headlight? What exactly is this team of people doing who isn't in America? So if you're China and you're trying to keep out Tesla and all the surveillance that comes with that and all its cameras, you don't say that because you don't want to alert anyone to the fact that you as a country are surveilling everyone at all times. It's just about the door handles.
Just about these door handles.
Just about these door handles. And here we are talking about Waymo, and there's a million things you could say, but we're like, hey man, this was a tabby named Kit Kat. The cat's name was Kit Kat, a beloved neighborhood cat, and it's dead. And this is the hill we're dying on right now. And I don't want to talk about your 22 LiDAR cameras that looking through my window every morning. I'm talking about that cat that everyone fed and loved. You're just seeing these. It's 100% swap, obfuscation of what's really going on. And this new surveillance kind of angle, if you will, like the way that now your movements, as soon as you turn on your phone and even while it's off, we know where you are. And now we know about everything you do in and out of your house. And we also know what you do in and out of your car. So we effectively know what you do at all times. And even when you're in the bathroom, you have your phone, so we know what you're doing in the bathroom.
I mean, the craziest thing my Tesla does, where you get in and it'll predict, like if you get in a car, between the hours of 8 and 8:30, it knows I'm driving to the office.
Right.
It knows where my average commute is. It's intelligent enough to predict where I'm going. Couldn't it go place a bet every day of, do you think Michael Toter will drive to this school at this time? And it could just win that bet every day. Probably.
You could tokenize your own internet of behavior.
Right. I mean, that's you talk a lot about this, and I think to bring it all the way around, that is where the surveillance state, humans, the tokenization of humans or human behavior or human creation or human money, the things that we put into sporting events and gaming and pornography, the moment you tokenize all of those things, I don't know, it just creates this tokenized economy, which the flurry of marketing activity, the make IPOs great again. Like, I'm just following the narrative here of there is a lot of obfuscation happening, but maybe the thing you just said of trying to make the thing that's not the most important thing, the door handles, like we're going to have a name for this Pareto's window of the things you don't know.
Yeah.
But like, I almost think that that's why this crypto bill is going to get passed, is because you've got the ABA screaming about stablecoin yield, and the average American does not understand,
really doesn't even understand
the most
both
important
those words.
thing.
And not even those two words. Most people don't know what yield is, much less stablecoin.
So the most important thing can't be the most important thing. And so unless they can come up with some other reason, which they've been throwing out, and by the way, definitely saw all of the Jeffrey Epstein created Bitcoin FUD over the last 10 days. You want to take the other side of that bet of educating the market of how decentralized currencies work, how Bitcoin is democratized in such a way that it is separate from the government, right? That while yes, it could be surveilled, it still maintains privacy. Those are two different things. Surveillance and privacy are two different things.
Maybe that actually fills in that third blank for porn. I mean, maybe the whole Epstein thread is that mechanism to teach and to bring adoption of digital currencies through the narrative that effectively implies that general category of behavior.
Like that you could pay for something and not be surveilled, but it doesn't mean that you should be private about it, or that it can or should be private, or I don't know where maybe it's the other way
I guess what
around,
I was saying with that is that, like, if you take gaming and you take gambling and you take porn and say these are the three industries that are going to push forward any new technology, and we agree in gaming it exists for cryptocurrency and AI and different tech, and we agree that now, of course, in gambling that exists. Well, we haven't seen overtly in like adult entertainment, but the Epstein files in some way are a publicly available spectacle that is really around bad behavior, ultimately adult entertainment. And there is I think an analog here. Sorry to throw a bunch of words that are also contradictory into this conversation, but there's an analog, which is, there is all these, there are files. There are millions of emails that we're just going to pull up from wherever and hand out and everyone can look at them. Here's the blockchain, the metaphorical blockchain of this Epstein saga. The blockchain was created whenever he instantiated the thing, and it's been running. And there's many things that happen over time, including the creator disappearing, effectively. And then here are these files, and here's the truth layer, but it's redacted because we run the blockchain and we choose to obfuscate some of the truth. We choose to provide a lens. It actually is a surveillance report. We are surveilling the behavior of these bad people, but there's privacy of many of those bad people. These things are in complete odds with one another, but we see it playing out in the tech, but then even in the internet of behaviors of the people trying to make sense of this stuff. And at the same time, they're throwing words around tokenization, blah, 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 all these things. How do we get the word out? It's like, well, you guys are all swimming around the same concept. You're just choosing when to kind of double down on it. And this Clarity Act will do that for finance and banking, but there's going to need to be behavioral acts and regulation and some sense of decorum that comes into play. I don't know if you can complete that via CFTCs, SECs, and other kind of tools. There's going to need to be almost a cultural wave tool, social media at the tip of that spear, and then on down. And that's something I think that's going to be really, the second half of this decade is going to be about the regulation of our behavior, not our financial transactions.
We are going to look back on the last 30 seconds of what you just said 10 years from now. And I think it shows exactly where we are. Sometimes it's hard to see that when you're in the moment of how messy and how gray it is. And that definitions there of privacy and surveillance and behavior and, you said decorum of like you need trusted actors. Like at the end of the day, there have been trusted intermediaries in our economy. We trust the bank, we trust the government, we trust our institutions, our schools, the infrastructure. Like we trust and that's where
our brands,
and that has to be earned. The trust has to be earned. And in a world of AI, where it's easy to ship with AI, you could publish and create anything with generative AI immediately. Everything, a video game, a book. You could create a website, an app. You could stand up anything on the digital screen instantly. But to create a brand that endures or an institution that endures, it's going to be a lot harder to earn that trust. You're going to need to show the receipts. You're going to need to know how something was made. What's its provenance? Where did it come from? In the case of humans, it is a little bit of, I think about like, did you get good grades? Were you in clubs? Did you do volunteer service hours? Did you go to college? Did you get a diploma? All the things that there are analog signals for today that need to be tokenized, that I need to own and control my data so that I can prove that I'm trustworthy. And by the way, my actions need to continue to match that in order for those who want to do business with me, who want to be my friend, who want to talk to me, who want to lend me money, who want to invest.
And who, to put, I think, a finer point on what you just said, which is great, is that it comes right back around to the trust. And if you don't have the receipts and you don't know what the service is and you don't know what the product is, well, that's why all those Super Bowl ads for AI were just trying to engender some trust. To say, you can trust this company making this AI. Well, what exactly does it make? Well, that's not really important. We need you to trust us first, then we'll tell you what we make.
By the very nature of using the Super Bowl and paying $8, $10 million, $12 million for a 30-second commercial spot, you are communicating at least that you have the money to buy my trust.
I want to invest in a tokenized version of your trust. That's what I want to do. But put up just a pause on that go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say proof of work. I think proof of human, we talk about all these things on the show, but like that's where that trust is going to come from. And I think you're right. It's why the AIs are starting to battle it out in that public forum, literally in the big game, trying to introduce themselves to the world. Base 44 was one that did a Super Bowl commercial. And I was really surprised to see they're a vibe coding platform. But talk about, it made me, I haven't used Base 44. I've used a lot of the other vibe coding platforms. It made me want to say, oh, you know what? I trust those guys. I bet they're a legitimate company. They paid for a Super Bowl commercial. And Coinbase, I mean, that one to me, they've done it a couple of years in a row with the dancing QR code. And then it was probably about 10 or 15 seconds into it when I recognized the color and the font. And I made an educated guess that it was Coinbase and was not overly surprised at the end to see that they had pulled this stunt. And it is the stunt, and it at least gets people thinking, this is what we're doing. Everybody get on Coinbase because that clarity is coming. And I just checked the feed. I haven't seen anything coming out of DC, but.
Well, one thing I was going to say, just as we kind of come to put a few wrappers on the show, is that in the absence of AI, I think we see a lot of that true trust emerge, right? In the absence of businesses, of humans, of people that feel the need to constantly talk about and quote leverage AI, you'll start to see some of these, I think, really key. I hate to use the word influencers, but I actually think influencers is still a really great foil to describe perhaps the opposite other side of the coin of what is AI, right? And you think about our pal, old James Donaldson. James Donaldson is a
Mr.
human.
Beast.
And he's known as Mr. Beast. And Mr. Beast, as we know, is someone who has started to dabble in just myriad markets in products and services,
This is
and
a good one.
never, ever talks about AI. He talks about himself and what he's doing for communities. He in a way has a benevolence about him that even the Brian Armstrongs don't, because he seems sort of like, a hairless cat from the future who's coming to make bets on himself or whatever. Like Armstrong probably has a little more trust than probably most of the other tech companies because he's been around forever. But let's just go with Mr. Beast for a second. What is he most focused on? Well, how did he get his start? He's a YouTuber. Who does he connect with? The newest and youngest generation who's allowed to be on the internet. Whatever that gen is, that's who he talks to. Who's that today that we can describe? Well, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, they're still having to get parents' permission, but Gen Z, they're starting to turn 18. Okay, well, what's the next move? Is it AI? No, it's banking. Let's bring it back around to what's happening today. Mr. Beast gets a $200 million investment. He's effectively basically mining crypto, and he is squarely sliding into Ethereum as the blockchain. Why is that important? Ethereum is a blockchain that's absolutely controlled by a handful of people. So if he needs to have his say or influence, made real, he probably could call Vitalik Buterin or any of these guys and have at least a conversation. I'm sure Vitalik even watches his YouTube channel. And then you're going to start to give a banking app so that now what we had talked about with a neighborhoody, hey, Michael's got a leaf blower. I need one. I need $200. I'm going to go and ask for a micro loan through the thing. Well, now at the schoolyard, it's, yo, man, I just need $2 for the vending machine. I'll give you that loan. I'll give you Beast coins, and then you can go and convert it to then get the candy bar and the soda. And as soon as you start to see the way that Mr. Beast is influencing without any AI technology, he never makes himself look fancy. He's just the same kid, always in his dorky clothes. But he's now going to let the new generation become aware that they don't need the American Banking Association. They don't need institutional lending. They don't need anything but their savior, who seems to walk on water and just hemorrhage candy bars and Beast coins and just cash. And just, he comes up and he says, Internet Behavior 101. Hey, if you hold your phone right now over the side of this waterfall and throw it in the air, has to go at least 2 feet, and you catch it, I'll give you $1,000. You want to talk about tokenizing the future? That guy's been doing it before there was Kalshi or Polymarket, and that's where he's headed next.
He's a classic case of watch what I do, not what I say, because he will pile up $1 million of cash in a pyramid and have 1,000 people fight all over it. But meanwhile, he's running the bank out of the back with this new acquisition. I love that hot take. And as I'm scrolling through here while we are live on the show, this is two things. One, Goldman Sachs released its Q4 2025. In a 13F filing, they revealed, this is from less than 60 minutes ago, $2.36 billion in crypto assets, marking a 15% quarter-over-quarter increase despite market volatility. Of that 2.36 billion in crypto exposure, 1.1 in Bitcoin, 1 billion in Ethereum, 153 million in XRP, 108 million in Solana. That is a 0.33% allocation of their total investments into crypto. That is Goldman Sachs in a 13F filing today, February 10th, while the big banks. Also, another one from SEC chair. This is from CNBC. So I saw the Fox Business post, but he said now is the quote right time to open the 12.5 trillion 401k market to crypto. We just talked about that here in the last 60 minutes. That is the Securities Exchange Chairman Paul Atkins saying now, February 10th, is the right time to open the 12.5 trillion
with
K
a T.
market. to crypto. They're going to need a lot more than 21 million Bitcoin. They're going to need a lot of digital paper ETFs to fill up those accounts. I also saw the Michael Dell and Trump account ad and the putting money in the pockets of those Mr. Beast kids. We're going to just give them US dollars in USDC, likely inside of these savings accounts, to try to shore up that distribution. Just like any good token distribution, you got to get it into as many wallets as possible, as far reaching as possible, in order to have a good decentralized strategy. I'll keep watching this stuff out of the Clarity Act, but I would not be surprised if we get, it could just be more sideways movement today, but watch the sideways movement. You could get one more big dip, I think, and so that negotiated price to fill up those $12 trillion of 401ks, to me, I'd probably want to buy it around 50% discount, around 50 to 55K if I got to choose.
58. I love it. I love that hot take. And one I'll leave you with is, don't sleep, and no one sleep on the lack of lunar activity, because we had our full moon on February 1st. This is an unusual year. Okay, in the last 5 years, and looking forward to the next 10 years, the Lunar New Year this year is the latest it will be. February 17th is an extraordinarily late Lunar New Year. They're usually early Feb, sometimes late January. And this Lunar New Year being on the 17th is the horse. Now, I'm not going to say that stablecoins have anything to do with horses, but you could make that analogy if you didn't know much about anything. And I'll also just point out that the year of the horse, as written by most of your standard zodiac manuals, is commonly described as a year about forward motion, about ambition, and about bold personal goals. In traditional Lunar New Year lore, the horse energy is fast, independent, and fueled by abject momentum rather than patience. And I don't know if that, to me, kind of captures exactly what's happening. And we'll have our Valentine's Day this Saturday. But then as you get to Tuesday of next week, the world is going to be celebrating the Lunar New Year. And if you are someone who's in the business of receiving little red envelopes with cash, you might also be in the business of buying discounted cryptocurrencies and or investing in predictions of your own future.
I love it. I love it.
Buy the dip, everybody. It's going to dip. Buy it.
I think we got one more here as we thaw out in February. I can't wait to do it again. I hope you enjoy the rest of your week. We'll be back here, same time, same place next week, and take care.
Wait, that's going to be on Lunar New Year, our Year of the Fire Horse recording. So everyone stay tuned. Next Tuesday, we're doing it. We're going to be buying bags live. We'll be buying bags live. I'll even get some stable coins for you. Talk to you later.